Yo, if you've been digging Producer Head, I highly recommend you check out the Music Production Podcast hosted by Brian Funk. You may recognize Brian from his previous appearances on episodes 15 and 16 of Producer Head. I also appeared on episode 403 of the Music Production Podcast, where Brian consistently curates high-quality conversations about all things related to music making. His guests include artists and experts across genres and areas of expertise. The conversations hosted by Brian are comprehensive, ranging from technical workflows to creative philosophies. As a Producer Head listener, the Music Production Podcast is a natural fit. Go ahead and check it out. Yo, what's up? This is Toru, and in a way, so are you. I'm a music producer and the host of this show, Producer Head. Welcome to my conversation with Illogic, the legendary MC and producer based out of Columbus, Ohio. For those of you who don't already know, Illogic is a hip-hop artist who's been crafting introspective, intelligent rap for nearly 3 decades. Known for his thoughtful lyrics, collaborative spirit, and unwavering authenticity, all of which you will hear throughout this conversation, he has built a dedicated fan base. All right, with that, please enjoy my conversation with Illogic. What's up, everybody? This is Toru, and in a way, so are you. Welcome back to another episode of Producer Head. Today, joining us from Columbus, Ohio, Illogic. What's up, man? How are you?
What's up, man? I'm doing good. Enjoying the gloomy day here in Columbus.
Yeah, man, we're worlds apart in terms of weather right now. But I want to drop into, a lot of times what happens to us is as people and as artists are things other people, fans don't see from the outside. And so I'm wondering how the people in your life have shaped your journey in music and as an artist.
Well, starting with my mother, she was very instrumental in helping me discover my love of language, love of words, having me read dictionaries when I was young, having to have a word of the week that I had to, understand and learn the definition of. Um, she was very instrumental in that. And also, like I mentioned earlier, kind of giving me the confidence of knowing that I can achieve and do anything I put my mind to. So she was very instrumental in my growth, as a human being and as an artist, just, being confident in myself. And then, like I have not a lot of friends, but the friends that I have are, I've had for 20 plus, years. I don't have a lot of new friends, and they, are always super supportive in the things that I do, always able to lend an ear when I need have conversations and help and guidance in certain things. Blueprint being kind of the main, he's like my big brother anytime I want to make a move somewhere in my career or in life, like I can kind of call on him and, kind of bounce things off, and he'll be honest with me and let me know, like, that's a horrible idea, or that's a great idea, or that's a good idea, but how you're going about it, you may want to look at this, you may want to look at that. So he's super instrumental in especially my music career, but, just things in life in general. And my wife has always been super supportive. We've known each other since we were super young. We went to church together. That's how we met. Around the age of 11, 12, we actually were boyfriend and girlfriend in like middle school for a couple months.
Wow.
Yeah, she told her mom she was going to marry me when she was 13 years old. I had no idea of that until after we were already married. So, she kind of sought me out and made sure that I was the one. But she's always been super supportive, always watches my back, always, there to tell me when I'm doing good, but also there to tell me when I'm screwing up, which is definitely necessary because, as artists, as men, as human beings, we don't like to hear when we're wrong, but we need to. And, having people in your corner that aren't afraid to, tell you those things and kind of help steer you in the right direction, is super important. So she's a big part of, why I am who I am and why I move the way that I move, why I do things a certain way. And just having children, has also, and now grandchildren as well, has also kind of always lit a fire under me. I mean, I had my first son when I was 22 years old. And, when my son was born, I got married, I had my first son, and I went on my first tour all in the same month.
Wow.
So, just having children, yeah, it was a wild time. But just having children has kind of lit a fire under me to be, as good and as focused on whatever I'm trying to achieve in order to make sure that they have the life that I think they should have and that they deserve, in all aspects of life. So, in my music career, they were integral parts of, me getting my master's degree. Actually, funny story about my master's degree. My wife, I had graduated from school, and my wife was just like, "Hey, you ever thought about going back to get your master's?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't want to go back to school." And a couple weeks after we had that conversation, it was a Saturday, I believe, and she's like, "Hey, I'm on the phone with this school, and they have a program that kind of coincides with what you want to do, and I wanted to do some computer programming and things, and of that nature I was looking at." And she's like, "Why don't you just talk to this lady? She'll tell you about the program and stuff." By the end of the conversation, I was enrolled in school. And that was her goal all along. Like, she
Yeah.
she knew I wanted it, but I didn't want it. She knew I needed it, but I didn't want it. And she kind of coerced me. By the end of that conversation, I was in school, and I'm glad she did it because it has helped me in my professional career as well. But those are the kind of things that having a good partner will that kind of push you into doing shit that you really don't want to do, but they see that you need and know that you need and know that it will help you in the long run.
Yeah, and what did you get your master's in?
My master's is in information systems. So right now I'm a workforce analyst for a financial company. So, without that master's degree, I don't think I'd be in the professional position that I'm in right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I don't want to turn this into some kind of corporate job interview, but
Oh
what I
no,
do
go
want to
ahead.
ask you, what I do want to ask you is like, balancing being such like in a sense like a rebellious and like self-analytical voice in
Mhm.
music and balancing that with contributing to a company in some way in whatever context it happens to be.
It's interesting. You know what I mean? It's very different, but the fact that I have a family, the fact that I have, bills and house to pay for and cars to pay for and kids to feed and all that stuff. It's a necessary evil in a way. But the thing about me is that I actually enjoy my job. I don't hate it. I don't look at it as something that is hindering me from music. One of the things that I always loved about my jobs that I've had throughout, my life is that they inspired me to create a lot of times. A lot of things that I've written on, that's been released over the years. Most of that stuff I wrote at work on my lunch break or,
Yeah.
sitting at my desk. And I think also being in corporate America and being around every type of human being that exists on this planet also gives you perspective on where you are in life, where you want to go in life. And also you hear stories, you hear ideas, especially as a rapper and poet. There's songs that I've written that are, based on stories of other people that they've told me in life that have taught me, certain things. And, some of those things I still live by to this day. And other things, I just thought were kind of cool and interesting tidbits of information to have just about the human condition and just about, human beings in general and how we react and, how we go about certain things in our lives. So I think it's always been a blessing. I've always enjoyed really, being in the work world. It hasn't always been the greatest thing for being a traveling artist, touring and all that stuff wasn't always the easiest having a job. But I think it's in the long term has helped me, become a better person and better human being.
Yeah, man. I mean, I would actually argue that it maybe adds a level of authenticity to your
Hmm.
music
Yeah.
because you're living this life. You understand what it is to be a person, to have a family. Because of that, it's a similarity that you share with a lot of people,
Yeah.
and it gives you the true firsthand experience to put that into your music, as
Yeah.
opposed to being somebody who's a quote unquote pure artist from the outside, criticizing all that, maybe not actually being in it and knowing what that's like.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a really interesting thing that on the surface can look like a contradiction, but actually gives, like you said, provides the source and fuel. Like you said, you're writing some of that at the desk, probably because like those moments of what you're experiencing really inspire things in that moment.
Definitely does. And I think it's important for people to understand that as artists, just because you have a job doesn't mean that you're a failure. it means that you have responsibilities, or you're a responsible person. That you're not, just putting all your eggs in this one basket in case those eggs break. Like then you're just ass out, especially if you have other people that are depending on you in life, or just the fact that you're depending on yourself. It's not smart to just go out on this limb and hope that you don't crash on the rocks below. There's a level of self-preservation in making sure that you can take care of yourself, you can feed yourself, you can do certain things, that does not negate the fact that you're an artistic person and that you have a dream to do something that is bigger than whatever you're doing at that job. But sometimes you just have to do what makes the most sense and what keeps you above water and keeps you from going crazy. And sometimes a job is that thing.
I also want to ask you about your feelings on the importance of having something like intentionally, like, in your case, you have this job. Maybe you're somebody who doesn't. What are your thoughts on, if you don't have something like that, creating a wildly different way to use your brain, whether it's a hobby or a job, to use your brain in a really different way, and how that maybe benefits, or maybe you don't think it does, but maybe it benefits your music in ways to have that other way that your brain's just getting used regardless of the context that it happens to be used in.
Yeah, I think it's always important to be multifaceted in some way. If you're just a rapper and that's all you do, that's all you concentrate on, that's all you listen to, that's all you live your life by, for some people that may work. But in general, I think that having something else to concentrate on, something else that breathes life into you, in turn will help you become a better artist, become a better rapper, become a better writer, because everything that you experience in life isn't always related to fucking rap, isn't always related to, painting, isn't always related to music production, isn't always related to whatever you're doing. Having those outside experiences and using your brain in other ways and problem solving and things like that are super helpful, because I think for me personally, I was a rapper first. And I think diving into the world of production actually gave me an additional outlet to get those emotions out, to get those feelings out. When I wasn't feeling like writing a rap, I could always listen to some records, take some samples, listen to some drum breaks, things like that. And having something else for me artistically to focus on was definitely important for me to continue to build myself as an artist and as a person. And also having outside things, like you said, hobbies or even jobs or whatever. If you don't have a job, and having something other than what your main focus is always super important, or else it's almost Groundhog Day where you're just looping the same shit over and over again because you haven't lived and experienced anything. It's important to, especially as artists and as people in general, to live life and experience things. And that helps you become a more well-rounded human being, let alone a more well-rounded artist.
Last thing I want to ask you about family. It sounds like, especially in the example of your wife and your master's degree, there's been very conscious gifts and nudges that people have tried to give you and that have been really helpful. I'm wondering if there are any unconscious gifts that they've given you that maybe they don't realize that they've given you, that you've received.
Honestly, my wife has helped me with communication a lot, because being married, I don't know if you're in a relationship or, married or anything, but I'm sure you've been in relationships. Communicating with a partner, especially when your goals and aspirations in the end are aligned, your progress and success is their progress and success as well. Learning how to communicate with each other becomes more vital than anything in your relationship. And in that, understanding how to not come off like an asshole, even though you're right. You know what I'm saying? Uh, how not to talk down to people when they don't understand where you're coming from or what you're trying to accomplish, just because they're not in that discipline. So having a way to communicate your ideas and your thoughts and your plans to people in general, she's really helped me with that a lot. Because when we first got married, we got married super young. Like I said, I was 22. She was 20, I think, 21. But we were super young, and both of us really not understanding how to navigate life, really not really understanding what the hell we really, really wanted. And we had no idea how to talk to each other, how to communicate with each other, what to share, when to share. And over, we've been married for 20, I think we're going on 24 years, I want to say. Yeah, we're going on 24 years now. And now we don't even have to talk. We can kind of give each other a look and we know where the conversation's going to go or what the other person's thinking. And she's kind of helped me be a lot more vocal because I was always kind of a quiet guy, kind of go with the flow, didn't really make my wants and needs known a lot. And you can't get what you want from somebody if you don't tell them what you want. If you just allowing them to lead you somewhere and you don't like where they're leading you, but you never say anything and you just keep going with the flow, then you're going to end up somewhere you don't want to be. So, she's definitely helped me understand that about myself and about just life in general. And that's definitely helped me in my corporate world, in my corporate job, as well as in my music career, making sure that I'm not getting jerked, making sure that things are going in a direction that I want them to go because I'm vocal about it, because I make sure to let people know this is what I will do. This is what I won't do. This is looking like it's going in this direction. So I don't want to be a part of it. If you want me to be a part of it, then we got to change directions, certain things like that. Like she's definitely helped me develop my voice, if you will.
So, man, you've been at this music thing for decades, and looking back, I'm wondering what do you think have been the ingredients to your particular recipe to stay relevant and to maintain longevity in music over such a long period of time?
It's been a combination of things. One of the things being that planet sun thinking, making sure that my son is always in good shape and always concentrating on my craft, developing my craft, but diversifying myself, making myself being able to be flexible. I started doing this before there was an internet. So as the internet developed, I had to learn how to use that in conjunction with the things that I've already learned and just staying true to who I was. I've never, if anyone, has listened to me since the beginning of my career, I've never changed who I am. I've always been me. Of course, with that comes maturity and growth and experience, but the core values of who I am have never faltered. And I think that helps that, you have a fan base that can grow with you and that understands the person that you are. And in that, they give you latitude, they give you the room to grow and become more than just the person that they have in this little box of that you're their favorite artist. And if you try to do something outside of what they think you should be doing, they abandon you. I've been fortunate enough to shake hands with a lot of fans of mine, to be in the face of a lot of people that, have listened to my music and supported my career. And in that, they've gotten to understand and know who I am. And, they see that I'm the same person that I am on record, that I am when they meet me in person. One of the sayings is never meet your heroes. Luckily, when people meet me, they're pleasantly surprised that I'm the guy that wrote that song that they like, and they can see and hear that in the conversation and get that from just the kind of person that I am and being around me. So I think again, just being true to who you are throughout, and also allowing yourself to grow, allowing yourself to learn, allowing yourself to kind of move with the times. Although a lot of us artists that started before the internet kind of hate the internet. Um, hate the fact that we kind of have to continue to push and push and push to be at the top of the mind of everyone because everything is so saturated, especially now with social media. It's annoying, but it's part of the landscape now. It's part of the job. So, being flexible and, being able to understand the times and understand where music is going, where, things are going has been super important to the longevity as well. And I think just, continuing to study my craft and continuing to try to get better, even though I've been doing this for, almost 30 years, which is crazy. But even though I've been doing this for so long, I still think I can get better. Every verse that I write, I strive for it to be better than the last verse that I write. Every album that I work on and do, I strive for it to be best thing that I've ever done. I still believe that I haven't reached my peak yet. So in that, I continue to study my craft. I continue to work on being the best artist that I possibly can be. And I think that definitely helps too, because it shows in the work. It shows that I'm actually trying and not just complacent in the fact that, yeah, I made, a couple albums that people consider classic. I'm cool with that. I'm just going to kind of
Hmm.
coast, through the rest of my career and not try to be good on this next verse, because if they want the good shit, they can go listen to what I put out 10 years ago. Like, I don't think in those terms. I think every next project has to be the best project. And I think that mindset has definitely helped me to continue to grow and continue to be able to put things out and for people to actually care and pay attention. Even though sometimes you don't think people are paying attention, they still are. So I think those are the keys personally for me.
Which of these took the longest amount of time to get a grasp on or to get right?
Really, like, the conforming to the internet practices, really conforming to the social media algorithms and all that shit. Like, I'm still working on that. I think that's been the hardest thing to get a grasp on, to make myself do that and really like concentrate on learning that, because the internet is the only reason that I ever picked up a freaking camera to learn videography. Instagram and Facebook, and especially during the pandemic, I learned how to stream and all that stuff. Like, the internet is the only reason that I have some of the disciplines that I have in my tool bag now, because
Hmm.
I've had to adapt. And I know that this is the way. If you want to get noticed, if you want people to see you, and you want to stay on top of people's minds, because music is so saturated, then you have to kind of learn these things in order to still be in people's faces. Because we didn't have to be in people's faces before, because there wasn't this 24-hour news cycle or social presence that had to be upkept. Like, it was okay to put out an album every 3 years and people didn't forget you. Now it's, if you put out an album every 3 years and you're not doing any content in between, it's gonna be like you're a brand new fucking artist every time you drop a record, because because nobody's gonna keep track, because there's so much shit out there. So that's been really the most difficult thing. And again, I'm still learning how to adapt and learn all these tools and understanding, okay, how can I get my point across in a minute? You know what I'm saying? Before Twitter expanded beyond the 140 characters, how do I get my point across in 140 characters? How do I condense my ideas into this little box to present it to people, to make them want to go down the rabbit hole and really participate in the vastness of my career over these years? Because I put out so much music, but if you've never heard of me, I really only got less than a minute to convince you to even hit the link. You know what I'm saying? If you don't hit the link, cool. But the fact that, that's one of those things that we have to continue to do, it's a little frustrating and annoying, but it's part of the game.
What does the conflict or the struggle in your head sound like for you, in relation to social media?
Why do I have to do this? Basically, why do I have to continue to show people that I'm dope when everybody already knows that I am, but I got to keep reminding them. Why is this even worth it sometimes? Because there are certain things that we do, especially with social media. You're always throwing shit at the wall and see what sticks. And, something that, you might spend hours and hours on, you know, to make sure the lighting is right, to make sure this is perfect, that's perfect. You post it and you get 100 likes in a week. And something that you just post with your phone and kind of just throw up, goes fucking viral. And if there's no explanation as to why certain things happen. So that's really the conflict, is like in my head. What is the algorithm? What's going to work? Oh, this person did this. If I try that, will it work for me? No, probably won't. Okay, let me try it. Let me try it and see what happens. And I try it and it doesn't work. Okay, that didn't work. Let me try something else. Or, let me just do this basic thing. Let me just hold up my fucking phone and rap and see and post that and see what happens. Like, it's just this constant barrage of ideas and trying to understand, what this new world in how it works, what it really needs and what it really wants and how it works. In my head, it's often very schizophrenic when it comes to social media, because I'll go a month and post 3-4 times a day, and then I'll go a month where I don't post shit just because I'm fucking tired of it. The pandemic was a prime example. I actually had lost my job My wife was actually going through cancer treatments at the time, and all I had was the internet. So that's what I used for probably about a year and a half. Like I had a internet show that I was streaming every week. I had a new record that I was promoting at the time. And for that year and a half, I saw what my life would be like if I was just a content creator. And I hated it. That's when I knew this is not something that I want to do full time. I understand the need. And during that time, I gained a lot of followers. People were really checking for the things that I was doing. It was cool on that end. But as far as the work that I had to put in and having to come up with all these ideas, film all this stuff, edit all this stuff, always, scheduling all these posts, all of that. It was not something that I felt like I wanted to do for my job. So that's when I really understood, like, okay, people that do this content creating stuff, kudos to you guys, but this is not going to be my life. I am going to make sure that I understand how all this works so I can utilize it in conjunction with the other shit that I know how to do and that I know works, but this is not going to be my full-time life. And that's when I realized that, yeah, I'm going to stay at my job. I'm gonna keep working. I'm gonna keep working. I'll do this as an extra thing. If something happens where I blow up, I don't need to do that anymore. Cool, but I'm not just banking on this thing to take care of me and my family for forever because I hate it.
Yeah. So you got so much history behind you as an MC, and as we've discussed, like a really successful one with a dedicated fan base. Why start producing?
Well, as an artist, as an MC, I always had to wait for the producer to make the beat, for them to send me beats, for especially before, like I said, before the internet, you had to go over people's houses and you made tapes or burnt a CD of beats. And honestly, I just kind of got tired of waiting. A lot of hip hop is built out of necessity in the first place, just the whole creation of hip hop in general. And a lot of the things that I've learned are out of necessity as well. But, as an MC, I was always around when the beats for my albums were being made for the most part. I would make suggestions for samples. I would make suggestions for interludes, cuts and scratches and all that. Before there were internet DAWs, like there was all the hardware. There was MPCs and Sonic EPS and all that stuff. And all the buttons and stuff just freaked me out. Like it was never something that I thought that mentally I could even wrap my head around. So it's not something that I, wanted to do back then, but I've always been interested in the process. I just never thought I would be able to do it. And as we got into this more, computerized world, I started to see like, okay, I can get a computer program. I understand computers. I can get a computer program to do all of the things that the MPC does. I always wanted to make my own beats. One of my goals when I made Celestial Clockwork, I was like, okay, the last album of my career I'm going to produce for myself. So someday I'm going to learn how to do this shit and make a fucking record. I just wanted to have beats at my disposal whenever I wanted beats at my disposal and not have to call Blueprint or call this producer or that producer. Yo, send me some beats. I need some beats to write to. Like, I could do that on my own. And once I, really dove in, it was great to have that, availability and be in control of everything that encompassed the song that I wanted to do. Like I took probably a year where I didn't write any raps. I didn't do anything else hip hop related other than learn how to make beats. That's all I did for a year straight. And 2 years after that year, I started to create my first album that I produced for myself, which was Autopilot.
What's the best way to learn something new?
I mean, it depends on how you learn. Everybody learns differently. So I'm a visual learner. So like tutorials were perfect for me. Learning how to use different DAWs. Right now I use FL Studio, and that's been the main one that I use. I started out on one of the older ones. I kind of started out just recording myself and engineering myself was initial, getting into just using DAWs. And then it's like, okay, I can do the same thing I'm doing with my vocals with drum breaks and, fucking samples. So let me kind of throw some things in there. That's just kind of how all of that developed.
Got you. I mean, when I hear you describe the way you learn, to me, it sounds like really intent, like you had an intentional direction. Production is something that matters to me. And then from there, the actual process was incremental and experiential, like actually doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, like tutorials were perfect because I could see with the program that I was using, which, when I really started making beats was FL Studio. So I could see them do something and then I could pause the video and I could do it, and see like, okay, this is the the result that they get from doing this thing. Let me see if I can get the same result. Okay, I got the same result. Move on to the next step. That's just how I learn everything that I do in general. Like I kind of need to see it. I can read, directions pretty well, but I'd
Mhm.
rather see something put together or something done and then kind of emulate that practice. I just got a 404 MK2 not too long ago, and I've just been deep in tutorials, just trying to learn it because it's so much shit in that little machine. But it's the best way. It's the best way to learn for me.
You also brought this up earlier. You said something along the lines of, you're always in a way writing the same 16, like you're always trying to write another verse.
Hmm.
But also there's just like you're always engaged and you're ready to like, I want to make this the best 16 I've ever written. So how do you maintain that freshness of perspective and excitement on doing something as also you mentioned earlier, kind of like a ground, you could argue there's a Groundhog's Day element to it.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to because I believe that I'm kind of in the last maybe 6 months or so, I'm kind of back into there's a fire in my belly about writing again. For a long time, that fire was more leaning towards production than writing. Because after writing raps for 20 years, it kind of got pedestrian. It kind of got to a
Mhm.
point where I know that I'm good at this. I can sit down at any time. I don't need to be inspired. I don't need to have this, spark, this light bulb that pops over top of my head. And then and only then can I write a verse. Like I can sit down at any moment. I can wake up out of my sleep and sit down and write a 16. It got that
Mhm.
pedestrian for me. And the last 6 months working on this new album, me and Blueprint are actually working on, and all the things that I've experienced in my life for the last 3 years. Like I mentioned before, dealing with my wife, dealing with cancer. There was some, situational things that happened with my children, some issues with just people in general, and trying to kind of having to set boundaries with people in my own lives and maybe remove some people from my life. And there was so many things that I needed to write about, that I had to write about, that I couldn't write about. I couldn't find the words. And at that moment, in those couple years, I actually went to therapy about it because my normal outlet was felt unavailable at the time. Even though for so long I kind of dismissed it as this thing that I could just pull out of the air and do, whenever I wanted. And the thing is, like, it wasn't like I couldn't write, but the things that I needed to write, I couldn't write. I was still writing songs, I was still doing features for people, I was still writing raps that were good, but what I needed to write couldn't come out for some reason.
How could you tell what you were writing wasn't what you needed to write?
Because the things that I was going through at the time, I know that I needed to express them in that way to kind of resolve them in myself. And whenever I would sit down to write, I couldn't find the words to express them, to bring my thoughts to, even to talk about them was difficult because I couldn't find the words to describe the emotional toll that they had taken on me. Um, and it just so happens that, me and Blueprint had started talking about, yeah, let's start working on a new record. And he started to send me beats. And ironically, nothing I was making was bringing it out of me. Um, and it just so happens the stuff that he sent me was the trigger that I needed to get those thoughts out. And in getting those things out, it opened a floodgate of really understanding how much I missed writing and how much I took it for granted. The fact that I thought, and which is still true, like I can sit down and write a 16 that'll be dope and people will probably like it and, it'll be cool, but it may not always be what I need at the moment. And I've gotten back to a place where I appreciate the fact that my pen and my pad are kind of my, therapist and my escape and my way to kind of resolve issues in my head and kind of think through things and, you know, find some understanding in certain things that I'm going through. One of the things that I always loved about my writing and my style of writing for me is that I didn't always understand the purpose of the things that I wrote when I wrote them. A lot of times I didn't understand some of the things until I actually recorded them. Like I knew they were good. I knew they were saying something, but what they were saying to me, I didn't always understand until later. There's songs that are so poignant to certain situations in my life where, even to this day, there's certain things here and there that I'm like, oh, that's why I wrote that, because I was going through this certain thing and this is what this means. Like my a lot of times my songs have little jewels here and there for me, and I always say that I write for me first. And with that, I still find things that kind of boost me and keep me kind of, grounded in certain things. But yeah, like for a long time, I didn't really I think I came to the understanding that I wasn't really appreciating the gift that I was given. And just
Mm.
lately it's come back and it's been really exciting. Like I've written I think I'm doing probably my best writing of my career now because I'm really appreciating the fact that I have this ability and I have this gift, and I'm not lost with, the words. The words are coming and the thoughts are coming and the ideas are coming and the songs are some of the best that I've ever done.
I'm really happy for you, man. I'm sure I speak for everybody listening as well. It's really, really cool to hear on all
Thank you.
fronts.
Thank you.
What did Blueprint do back at that time? Was it something he wrote? Was it just the way that the beats were hitting? What was it that help you have that breakthrough?
It was just the way the beats were hitting, the style of the beats, the mood. It's a lot of and it was something different, like the production on this next record that we're doing. It's a sound that I've never had throughout my career. Throughout this long career that I've had, I've never done songs over production like this. More soulful, really um, you know, almost feeling like um almost feeling like old school Baptist church kind of like feel like real emotion, real emotional, real a lot of piano, a lot of keys, a lot of horns, a lot of really dope vocal samples that almost wrote the songs for me and kind of said the things that I needed to say in, 4 bars. It's like, okay, yeah, that is the perfect, place for me to take this idea that I have. But yeah, it was just and he didn't know. He didn't know that
Mm.
I was in the place that I was in. He just sent me the stuff that he sent me and it just kind of broke me open. And I've told him, since then that, he kind of really took me out of a pretty dark place that I was in. And of course, me and him have a relationship musically that, goes back 20 plus years. So it's kind of, it's not a surprise that, he would kind of be the person to bring me out of a musical funk. But yeah, it was just the style of the music, the mood of the music, and the way that they spoke to me just kind of opened everything up.
What do you think artists miss out on by not collaborating? It's an unproven theory, but I feel like the rapid availability of production amplified by social media and this sort of like individualistic focus and about I need to grow my thing and my account and all of this that when I go back and I think about like Def Jux or Rhymesayers, right? That it was we're all trying to go up together, right? And we recognize like there's a mutual respect. We all feel like we're doing the same thing. Let's do it together. That because of that and obviously collaboration exists, right? But I feel like a lot less at more independent levels than it used to. And so I'm wondering, what do you think we miss out on as artists through not collaborating? Because I mean, your breakthrough that you just described with this Blueprint project, right? I mean, had he not just sent you some beats, like just that's all he had to do, right? And that just it blew the whole thing open.
I think if you look at the landscape of music, this is why there's hardly any more rap groups. you know, um, or R&B groups. Everybody's a solo artist. Everybody wants, concentrate on themselves and wants all the attention to be on them. And when you do that, I think you miss out on learning from someone else that is in the same that has the same goal as you. One of the good things about, having a partner like Blueprint, especially when we're working on music together or even working on music separately and solo, we bounce things off of each other. If he's working on a solo record, usually I hear it from, the demos up to completion. And I'm able to, give him ideas, say, yes, this is good. This is good. Maybe you should try this. And he does the same with me. And I think just that alone is helpful. Too many people are comfortable in their little silos. But then they wonder why, when they do release something, it's taken differently than they intend. A lot of times you need to collaborate with people and talk to people and have relationships with people where you can bounce your ideas off of, where you can, work with someone that is looking in the same direction as you, and that will help you kind of get there. That's why, the labels that you mentioned, Def Jux and Rhymesayers, that's why they work so well, because there was a group of people that had a leader, but everyone was working towards the same thing. Everyone wanted to make the label and themselves successful. And the fact that, okay, maybe Brother Ali pops and, POS doesn't pop at the same time, but okay, Brother Ali popped. Now he takes POS on tour with him and now he pops. So then he pops. Okay, now I'm popping. So I can headline and I can take the next person. I can take this person. So everybody's success was tied into each other's success. I think that's one of the things that people miss out on, is all the pressure doesn't always have to be on your shoulders. It's okay to lean on someone for help, and it's okay to prop somebody else up, because in turn somebody else may prop you up because they see the example that you're setting and they're able to see what you're doing. And those people that you prop up, then they're able to reach back and then push you up. As they start to rise, they bring you along with them. So it's very important to have partners in this music thing, because no matter what, no matter how good you are at every single artistic discipline that exists, you can't do everything yourself. It's absolutely impossible to do everything yourself to perfection, because there's always someone that's more proficient in this thing that you might need, that you can reach out to, and that'll take your project, just a notch better. Just because you don't want to depend on people, sometimes people put out mediocre art, their art suffers because of that, because they don't want to lean on somebody, or they don't want to relinquish control of this little thing. You can limit the impact that you have if you're not looking, outside of yourself for certain things. You can lose a lot.
Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying this episode, take a second and hit that subscribe button. Remember, Producer Head grows thanks to listeners and supporters like you. So if something here resonates, take a second to let us know by following, liking, subscribing. Your support means everything. By subscribing and sharing, you help us grow the Producer Head community, which allows us to continue bringing you incredible conversations just like this one, and opens the door to even more exciting guests in the future. Let's keep building this together. All right, back to the episode. Name somebody who has succeeded alone.
I can't. I mean, just thinking, no matter any artist, your favorite artist, if you think of your favorite artist, your favorite rap group, your favorite R&B artist, your favorite, trumpet player, your favorite drummer, there was always someone else there that allowed them to shine, that helped them shine. There's a reason that Funky Drummer is the break that it is. But it wouldn't be that if there wasn't James Brown, but James Brown wouldn't have done what he did without having Clyde. You know what I'm saying? So there's always people that are leaning on each other, and there's no possible way that you're going to be successful doing everything alone. It never happens.
You can't be your own fan base.
No, you can't. You can't. If anything else, you need them, So so, there's always even collaborating between you and your fan base on how you approach certain things, what they wanna hear, what they wanna see, direction they might want you to go in that you haven't thought of, that you might enjoy. You know what I mean? There's always certain things that you always gotta lean on somebody, even if it is fan base.
Is kind of connected to community in a sense, right? And this idea that we all get to, every single one of us, whether we're conscious of it or not, are always kind of representing examples and models for each other and have the ability to influence, and what we do ripples outward. So I want you to speak on, your experience, things that have rippled out towards you and the things that you in turn have done.
Well, with production, specifically, the way that we actually met was through Sidechain. What Stolen Drums did and has been doing with that community, I don't think I would have developed into the producer that I've developed into without having that community, being able to, again, in a sense, collaborate with like-minded people from all over the freaking world, to sit and listen to beats together, and, people giving you, pointers and understanding how they make this thing and how they do this. And Polly was one of I always loved when he was in the fucking, the meetings that we have when we were in Discord, because it was so much knowledge, and he just the way that he thought was just like, I hope Polly's here and I hope he talks for 20 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
just having, certain people there that do certain things and do things different from you. It was always something to learn. Even if it was something that I can't play guitar like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have that ability, but understanding, like, okay, this is how, this person approaches this thing. Maybe I can look at that, and how would I do that in my way? Like, having people that do, kind of what you do, but do it their own way, is always super important. Like, community and learning, and again, collaborating, bouncing ideas off of each other. Just the idea that people were working on tracks together, and this person lives in DC and this person lives in Atlanta. They're sending tracks back and forth and end up with some masterpieces that we heard during some of those sessions. Like, I just think it's super, super important for you to feel like you're not alone, and to have people to bounce things off of is super important. So community is one of those things that I don't think anything, like, as far as hip hop grew because of community, even from when it started. Hip hop now, as siloed as it is, there's still community is necessary for it to function in the way that, even if it's dysfunctional, it's still necessary for it to function and for it to continue. So community is definitely super, super important for anything to thrive.
And how has that experience inspired you to contribute back into the community in your own way?
Well, it's shown me that if there's not a community available, then you have to create one in order for the people around you to develop and become what they can. I've started my own little community here in Columbus called the Vibe Society. And actually, Vibe Society was a night that was started by a friend of mine who owned a restaurant. And he's just a hip hop head. He's a rapper, doesn't produce, but he just loves hearing good fucking beats. So, he had this night at his restaurant where he shut the restaurant down, and just producers could come in, and, it was like open ox kind of situation. Unfortunately, his restaurant closed a couple years ago. But the idea of Vibe Society created this community where all these producers in Columbus would come together and meet and talk and share ideas, share, the way that if two people use the MPC, because it's such a vast piece of equipment, everybody doesn't use it the same way. So this person, like, oh, this is how I chop this. This is how I do this. This is, so having that discourse and that back and forth was something that I noticed was definitely needed, and, started to get people together that would otherwise never be in the same room. Once the restaurant closed and Vibe Society kind of stopped, I kind of hit him up and was like, is it cool if I continue with the name and kind of develop Vibe Society? And he's like, yeah, go ahead, be my guest. And we started. I found a bar that didn't charge a door, but they had a stipend for shows. So anytime they would throw a show, they had a certain amount of money set aside to pay, the artists who brought people in. So, I hooked up with my friend Grant Gatsby from Everybody Else's Entertainment here because he kind of had nights where he had things and he needed to fill those nights. So, I brought Vibe Society to him, and we started doing it like a year ago. And we just this is our second year doing it in this place, and it's become kind of the beat makers hub for Columbus artists. So everybody, a lot of people have played it. Other people really want to play it. It's one of the best nights that the bar has for the month, and it's monthly. And it's one of the best nights the bar has, to where they kind of, injected a little more money into it this year, which is, how we're able to have some of the bigger shows. Last night, we actually did a Vibe, and we had Jay Rawls there.
Wow, what?
Yeah, Jay Rawls is the homie, man. Like I've known Jay Rawls. Yeah, I've known Jay Rawls since I was in fucking middle school. But yeah,
No
he was
way.
there. Yeah. He's kind of
Wow.
been one of my mentors. We actually went to college, same college. But yeah, he was there last night. Like I told you earlier, like RJDT is going to be there next month. We're looking at trying to get Mr. Dibbs later this year. So it's gone from just the local producers, contributing to where some of the bigger name producers that we have available to us in our city are like, yo, this Vibe Society thing is something that I want to be a part of. It's opening that door to where, again, it's creating friendships and it's creating relationships between people that otherwise would just be sitting in their bedroom making beats that nobody hears unless they put a record out. Some of the cats that have been part of Vibe Society over the last year, one of the artists, his name is Black Ops. He's a producer here as well. Got a group of the producers from Vibe Society and some MCs and actually put out one of the first production pieces of vinyl that is just Columbus artists. And he just put that out, a couple about a month or so ago. So it's developed into, these things and these pockets of friends now that start creating things together. But we have this centralized meeting place where we all talk to each other and chip in. When he was putting the album together, he contacted me for my advice, for some guidance. I'm not even on the record, but because, how we met through the Vibe Society, he contacted me with, how should I do this? How should I go about this? Where should I get my vinyl pressed at? Things like that. So, it's again created a community where we have each other to lean on and to call and to text and bounce ideas off of, and also help each other continue to grow. So it's really cool. And I'm glad that I was given the reins to be able to facilitate place where I don't necessarily know everyone all the time, but just creating a place where people can come and meet and talk and socialize and just enjoy themselves and vibe out and with other producers. And, it's really cool to have that little feather in my cap. So it's really dope.
Yeah, how does it feel, man, as you talk about that?
Yeah, it feels good, man. Last night was the first Vibe Society we've had this year where it was nice outside. And bro, it was so packed in there. Like it was, I mean, of course, having Jay Rawls there definitely helped. But it was just packed, and there's people I hadn't seen in years that were there last night because it's become a destination. It's become a thing. Like, oh, I know the second Friday of every month, I know where I'm gonna be. You know what I'm saying? It's become kind of that kind of thing for not just producers, but just the hip hop community here in Columbus in general. And I'm really proud. My friend that I said kind of started it, we talked a couple weeks ago, and he said, everything that you're doing is exactly what I envisioned when I started it. He's like, so I'm super glad that you kind of took the reins and kept it pushing. We have a YouTube page we just started, Vibe Society TV, which I kind of record all of the sessions there and edit all the videos and post those up. So there's only a few videos up right now, but I got to edit, all the shit from last night. But it's been really cool just, kind of seeing it grow and kind of seeing where it's going, and being the catalyst for it to continue to grow has been very rewarding.
Yeah, it sounds like you can't escape content creation no matter what you do, right?
Exactly. I can't.
But no, man, I mean, it sounds so dope. Honestly, like next time I'm in that area, I'm gonna try to see if I can extend and come through and check it
Yeah,
out.
just let me know. Shoot, I would love to have you, have you play. We've had complete beats from, Sidechain. He's played it. I'm trying to get Cryptic come down. He's in New York, but Cryptic actually did my release party last couple 2 years ago. Brought him down from New York. But yeah, man, if you're in the area, just let me know and we'll definitely make a place for you.
That's what's up, man. Yeah. And, shout out to Sidechain, to Stolen Drums, to Poly, to Crypt, to Complete, everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you balance solitude and, getting in the studio, working on your craft, whether it's producing, writing, with the social elements and community?
Well, understanding the importance of the community piece, I try not to limit myself to only participating when I'm the focus, because it's easy, to get kind of trapped in your room with your synthesizers and your beat machines and your stuff and just kind of zone out. It's very easy that way. Most producers are that way. Most producers that I know are introverts. They don't really go out in the public. They don't really go out and socialize with people. They don't have a lot of homies that they just fucking hang out with. They sit in their room listening to records, making beats, or writing raps or whatever. But I think growing up in the pre-internet world, where in order to interact with people, you had to go somewhere. When I was coming up, when we were first putting out records and everything, we had a place here called Bernie's that was a Sunday night hip hop night where anybody who was anybody that was an MC, you were at Bernie's. They had an open mic. A lot of shows were there. Legendary shows were there. Let me tell you how popular Bernie's was. Bernie's was like the central hip hop hub for Ohio at the time. And there was a night that Phife Dawg from Tribe Called Quest had a show on a Sunday night, and the show was dead. And the reason the show was dead, because after he did the show, he asked somebody that was there. He said, why? He said, I don't understand why, like I think it was like 5 or 6 people at his show. Like it was really dead. And come to find out, the promoter told him, he was like, well, there is this hip hop night that happens on Sunday night. Is like, and I put money on it that's where everybody is. So they ended up bringing Phife to Bernie's. Bernie's was packed that night. Didn't even expect Phife. It was just because Bernie's was Bernie's. And Phife ended up doing an impromptu performance at Bernie's because nobody came to his show. Like that's how popular Bernie's was. That's what I'm trying to get Vibe Society to be. But that kind of thing has taught me to understand the need for being around people and having a centralized hub where any MC, with Bernie's, no matter what kind of rap you did, if you was a gangster rapper, if you was an intellectual rapper, if you was, whatever you did, you had a home at Bernie's. Prism, rest in peace, was kind of the curator of the night. And as long as you was dope, he let you get on the mic. No matter what you was talking about, and a lot of the friends that I still have to this day, I met, in that hub. So understanding being in front of people and creating those relationships, how it has helped me and shaped me in my career and the friendships that I have, it shows me that it's okay to sit in your room and create. It's okay to, be alone. But at some points, you got to take your art out and to at least see if people fuck with it. You know what I'm saying? Like to at least see actual reaction, actual shake hands and kiss babies kind of situation.
Mm.
That stuff is super important, as well as the community aspect and interacting with people and getting inspired by everybody else. Because if you sit in your room and you never go to the outside world, you'll never understand what anybody else is doing and what people are fucking with. Just get your information from YouTube or Instagram. And a lot of times that's not really reality, especially if you're in a certain city or a certain region. What you might mess with on the internet might not be happening in your city. So you kind of got to go out and see what the temperature is, what everybody's doing. And in that, you'll probably create friendships that may last a lifetime.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I mean, I think we all exist within a context, whether we want to believe it or not. You know what I mean? Like nobody exists in a vacuum. So you kind of can delude yourself into thinking you do by hiding out in your studio, So I hear you.
Especially now, because you don't really have to go out to, like, because the internet is the internet, you don't really have to go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? You can go to chat rooms, you can go to people's Discords, you can, interact with people all day long, but there's something different about being face to face. There's something different about actually being able to shake somebody's hand that you revere as an artist. There's actually something different about hearing that bass line live as opposed to hearing it through a computer screen. Like there's just something different about it. And I think a lot of artists just really need to make sure that they embrace that part and don't lose that.
So with that said, what advice would you give to a younger Illogic?
Don't be afraid to take a break. Don't be afraid to concentrate on what is important. But at the same time, don't lose track of where you are. When I was young, like I said, I started my family pretty early. And because of my family and not understanding how to balance things, I basically put my career on hold for 5 years. I put out Celestial Clockwork in 2004, and I think it did one tour. And after that, I kind of disappeared for like 5 years. And the reason for that was when that album came out and I was out on tour, my youngest son was born and I wasn't here. And I didn't like how that felt. I kind of missed something that was super, super important. And that made me kind of reevaluate what was important to me, if this music thing was, really something that was important enough for me to miss, certain things like that, because I knew if I continued, this wouldn't be the last time. It was the first, but it wouldn't be the last time that I missed something important. But in that, I basically completely stopped. I wasn't making really anything. I would hang out with friends and go to nights and things like that. But I stopped without having a plan. And, what I would tell my younger self, like, it's okay to take a break. But when you do take a break and this isn't permanent, make sure you have a plan for when you come back. Because when I came back, I had no plan. I was basically like I had to start from scratch. And it was difficult, but it was a necessary thing that I had to learn in order to understand the importance of momentum, understanding the importance of having certain things in certain places to where you take care of what is necessary in your life and what is important in your life without sacrificing the other things that are important to you that may not seem as much of a priority to other people around you. So that balance is really something that I had to learn, and I would tell myself to make sure that you understand the balance of stopping, planning, understanding how to continue after making a comeback.
All right, man, I got these quick hits, kind of shorter form stuff I want to ask you before we drop into that. We're definitely going to share the Vibe Society TV stuff. Is there anything else, like in terms of your Instagram, your website, anywhere you like to send people, and anything you want to share in terms of socials, etc., so people can follow along with what you're doing? And we'll link all this in the show notes also.
And the Vibe Society 614 is our Instagram, and then Vibe Society TV is our YouTube page. So, stay locked in, especially for the producers there. And any producers watching this, if you want to come check out Vibe Society, want to participate, even if you're not in Ohio, hit me up. If you're going to be in town, let me know. We can always make a place for you,
Yeah, man, that's what's up. And it sounds like, I mean, if you're in Ohio, it sounds like you'd be crazy not to go.
Yeah.
At least hang out and see what's going on.
Yeah, at least hang out and come. Because there's producers that you've never heard of that are some of the illest cats that you'd hear. Yeah, like we have a really, really, really heavy community here. That's really dope.
All right, man. We'll link all of that stuff in the show notes. So yeah, but go follow this man. Go follow Vibe Society. And if you're in Ohio, if you're in Columbus, get out there. Which DAW do you use?
Right now I use FL Studio. But I just got a 404 not too long ago. So I'm kind of been like in that, for the last couple months, and I'm really loving the workflow. But combining those two, I think is how I'm probably going to be working in the future. Right now I'm doing 404 since I got it. Originally, that's what the main reason I got it was for live performance. Before that, I had a DJ controller and just kind of going Serato style, just DJ style, just playing beats and, utilizing the effects and shit in that program.
Are you doing DJ mode on the Mark II, or are you just playing them? Okay.
Yep, that's how I'm doing it now. But I see so much potential with it, especially as I make more beats on it. So I'm excited to kind of dive in to different ways, and also, even stripping some of my beats down to stems and playing with it that way. Like there's so many options. The machine is so dope and it's so fucking dense, that there's, so many ways to do it. But DJ mode is how I'm doing it right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I should spend some time, man. I have one, and I've done some live sets with it, but I haven't messed with the DJ mode like at all.
Yeah,
But it
DJ,
sounds like
it's the
I need to
easiest
spend some
way.
time in there.
Yeah, it's the easiest way to do it. And even, if you do split your beats up in stems, you can also utilize DJ mode and play patterns and shit. Like it's really dope ways to utilize it. So
All right, so I always ask this 3 favorite albums question, but in your case, I'm gonna kind of give you double duty, and you also got to give me 3 favorite MCs.
3 favorite albums. Organized Confusion, Stress the Extinction Agenda, Stevie Wonder's Secret Life of Plants, and like Things Fall Apart and Illadelph Half-Life probably are the roots are tied. Uh, so those are, but I mean, I could probably name 20 of my favorite albums, like so many different. I listen to a little bit of everything, so it would probably be better to say, what's your favorite rock record? What's your favorite rap record? What's your favorite 3 rap records? What's your favorite 3 jazz records? Like even then, I probably have a list of 10 each.
Why is Secret Life of Plants your favorite Stevie record?
Because it's so different from everything else. Just the title alone. I mean, you name an album, The Secret Life of Plants, it's probably gonna be some shit on there, just from a producer's ear. But it was just something, just different about it from all his other work. And especially as a producer and a jazz person, it really spoke to me, listening to that record.
And 3 favorite MCs.
3 favorite MCs, Pasta Noose, Black Thought. Probably say Common.
Best music related purchase you've made for $100 or less.
Music related purchase. Probably my 58 microphone. It's a workhorse. I use it for all my shows. It's virtually indestructible. And when I bought it for $99 on the dot.
Wow, yeah, that's a great answer. That's a great. I mean, that's there. I don't know if there's a better answer. I don't know if there's some. That's I didn't even think of it, but I mean, it's like that is the mic price right there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is. It's like the standard.
It's the standard, and it's a standard for a reason, because it sounds good. It's really kind of flat, so you can kind of take it anywhere, and especially for live performance, you drop it, it doesn't break. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a perfect fucking microphone.
Yeah, and for anybody listening who doesn't, isn't into this stuff, I mean, that's the mic you see if you watch somebody play on The Tonight Show or whatever, or on Saturday Night Live or whatever, any live gig you go to, like that's the mic that they're singing into all the time.
Yes.
Something you bought and never used.
Oh, there's so much.
I know, man. I feel like everybody's got a lot of skeletons when it comes to this. That's why I like to bring it up and just be like, you don't have to buy all this stuff.
Right. There's so much shit. Yeah. Honestly, a lot of are we just talking production wise or just period? Just, I mean, like,
however you want to take it, man.
Man, like there's so much camera equipment that I've bought that is still in the fucking packaging, or, that I've unpacked, but, never actually took it out of the case outside of just making sure it wasn't messed up. I have freaking light diffusers and reflectors and green screen shit and all kind just all kind of stuff that I've never used. And I'm like, one day, you know what I'm saying? Like one day I'll need this, and that day has not come. And I don't exactly know when that day will come, but I'm kind of scared to get rid of some of it, because as I get deeper into photography and videography, like one day I might need this deflector. One day I might need, so I just got so much camera shit that I've never used. I got fucking camera lenses that I've purchased that I've never used.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because this is an unexpected thing I think you can help with, which is for somebody who's like really went deep into content creation, you're live streaming everything, and who's somebody who kind of does the content stuff begrudgingly because it's like an obligation of existence as an artist today. Like for somebody out there that maybe is like, man, I feel like I need to get, what are like the bare bones necessities? Like if you're trying to get your shit together so you can just feel like you have a setup where you can make some decent, reliable content, what are the things in your mind that somebody should have?
I mean, You need a camera of some sort, of course. Ideally, for me, the newest thing that I've purchased, which I think I'm going to use probably forever, is the Osmo Pocket 3. I just bought that. I'm actually filming this on that, because you can use it as a webcam. It shoots in 4K. It goes. It's small enough to be in your fucking pocket. Like the battery life on it, if you have the extender, you can have 6 to 8 hours of battery life. The sound is amazing, but it's like, like if you want to get the whole like starter kit, it's like $700. You know what I'm saying? So it's not cheap. But if I would have bought this first before I bought anything else, like this probably would have been the only thing that I use, even if you don't have lighting, like the light on it is great. The lens is awesome. It fits in your freaking pocket. It's freaking great. But for just starting out though, I say, get, a old school. You don't even have to get anything new. Like before I got the Pocket 3 and started using it as my webcam, I had a Canon T3i, which was what I did all my streaming on and all that stuff. And you can probably get one of those right now for like $200. If you have and probably a little probably $100 interface, a 58, you can get one of those, a microphone. And that's really all you basically need. And honestly, if you don't want to invest in all that, if you're not trying to stream and all that shit, you got really what you need in your pocket, your fucking cell phone. Like that, you can use that to do almost anything these days. You can hook microphones up to it to get clear, audio. So YouTube is full of YouTube University is the place to be. Honestly, if you're trying to get started and you just got a, pretty good cell phone, you could probably get started with that and probably make really good content with it as long as you have an eye and as long as you really understand what you're doing. You could probably get away with not spending any money, really, when it comes down to it, if you just fucking pay your cell phone bill.
Yeah, man, no, I'm with that. I agree 100%. And like, you just don't need a lot of stuff. We're really lucky that way. Like if you have your iPhone, or it probably works on Android also, there's like the Elgato makes like the camera hub thing. So you can download that on your computer, download the mobile app, then you can just link your phone to your computer, and you haven't bought anything, maybe something to help you with the lighting, depending on where you're at. But yeah, man. And if you're a producer, you probably already have an audio interface, so it's just the visual piece that you need to like kind of dial in. I don't know, I always encourage people to not allow that to block them from doing anything, just because it's often like some sort of perfectionism or some kind of block it's some kind of little excuse that just stops you from, oh, I don't have to make this yet, or I'm not ready to make this yet because I don't have that set up. But all of us have watched content and will watch and consume content that is not of high production value that we enjoy thoroughly.
Yeah, me.
So,
Blueprint has a book that he wrote called The Social Media Cheat Code, and one of the chapters is quick and dirty versus full production. And usually, you shoot something with your phone. It's not color graded. It's just something you shoot, post up. Because our phones are so good these days, most of the time the video quality is pretty damn good. You might have to work on audio quality if you're doing that, but that's the quick and dirty thing. You just shoot something, maybe trim it down and post it, as opposed to getting the videographer and having all the lights perfect and having the right environment and all that's good. But a lot of times, what I've learned personally, my quick and dirty content does way better online than a lot of my full production, especially in a place like YouTube or even a place like TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but I can see how, because everything is such short, in such short spurts, that quick and dirty content does do a lot better, for some people at least, in those kind of areas. So everything don't have to be perfect. Nothing's going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And in order to, get to where you want to go, we live in a world that's content driven. So you're going to have to do content in some shape, some way, shape, or form. So in order, to make sure you're getting your face in front of people, quick and dirty is always probably the best way to go. And it's not going to be that bad a quality if you have a cell phone that was made in the last 5 years, 10 years. You'll probably still come off with pretty good looking content.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and link Blueprint's book in the show notes too. So if anybody wants to go check that out, I think it's really, I don't know, it's cool. I mean, I'm just thinking about it as you're saying all this. And yeah, man, the quick and dirty piece, it's like we have so much access to really high production quality content, whether it's Netflix or whatever other streaming platform in that way, right? And there's no shortage of that. And larger companies and production teams doing things on YouTube. So even TV shows that publish like the entire episode on YouTube at this point, things like that. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's just like, yeah, people don't need that necessarily, right? You know what I mean? And it's like, if that's your thing, like some people really do produce like beautiful stuff and that's their thing. You know what I mean? But if you're somebody who's trying to get some stuff together, like don't create that hurdle, for yourself. It's already hard enough to make it, as we've kind of talked about.
Right. And as long as it's good, even if the quality isn't, 4K fucking quality. I mean, most phones shoot in 1080p anyway. So most likely again the quality is going to be good enough. But as long as you're doing something that's interesting, that's captivating, that is good, that's really all that matters in the long run. The quality of how it looks isn't always the thing that you should concentrate on. The music got to be good first. If the music sucks and the video's great, then it still doesn't matter. You just wasted $10,000 on a video for a sucky song. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, exactly. It's like, I feel like I hear it. It's like a substance over form sort of priority, right? Yeah. One habit that gets in the way of your music.
Video games and watching television. I love movies. I love like thriller, action drama TV. Not big on reality TV and shit like that. But, like I will, if there's a dope like series that's coming on Netflix, I will have work to do and unfortunately take a whole Saturday and watch all 8 episodes. You know what I mean? Like, so that really gets in the way sometimes, but I curb it enough, to get my shit done. But there is times where, you flip through Netflix just to see what's new, see what's there, and you come across something. And if I push play, I may watch the whole fucking series if it's good enough.
So while you're doing that, what do you say to yourself while you're doing that? And you have like a project that's kind of in the back of your mind also.
Honestly, I do my best to not think about it. But I at times I do tell myself like, okay, like I took this whole day and screwed the pooch, but it was a great show. So on a day that I have something else planned, like I just got to kind of push it to the back burner, something else that's not related, that's not needed. Kind of just have to take that extra day out of my scheduled week to get this thing done that I should have got done on that Saturday when I was watching this new season of this show that probably doesn't change my life in any, way except the fact that it gives me a break from reality. But, I don't do it too much.
What's your standard for a productive day?
It varies. You know what I
Mm.
mean? It all depends on what needs to be done. If I have things that need to be done, then if I don't even look at it, then I feel like I kind of wasted my day. But if it's just a regular day, as long as honestly, as long as I learn something that day, I feel like I'm productive. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And no matter what that is, if I'm sitting in my studio watching a tutorial or if, I come across something in life that teaches me something, I think I feel like my day wasn't wasted, as long as I come across something that, enriches me a little bit. And that usually happens every day at least. So that's the basis of it. Yeah, it all depends on what I need to be doing at the time.
It sounds like you're an optimist to me.
Very much so. And I think sometimes that's my Achilles heel to an extent because I feel like because I'm an optimist, because I always look at things glass half full kind of thing, a lot of people take that and try to use it against me because I look at everyone as a friend until you show me you're an enemy. You know what I mean? And sometimes that, is dangerous, especially dealing in music and certain ways to be exploited with art. But I definitely am an optimist, and my wife always tells me that you think everyone is good people. I'm like, yeah, until they show me they're not. You know what I'm saying? Like I have no reason to think that someone's a horrible human being until they show me that they're a horrible human being. Otherwise, I'm gonna think that you look at life like I do until you show me you don't.
As a piece of encouragement, I've heard this idea, man, that I think is talking about kind of treating people that way, like you did. That's the highest ceiling you can put on like any, there's like a limitless ceiling on the relationship you can have with a person when you approach them that way. Whereas if you kind of approach them with skepticism and pessimism, there's always going to be limits to what you can do because you're not coming in as open, to the possibilities. And so you're limiting your own behavior and therefore the behavior of other people. And so I don't know, man. I commend you. It's like it's a challenging thing to do, but I do think that's also why you've experienced so much success in your interpersonal relationships, in music, and like even with Vibe Society.
Yeah, it's a like I said, especially in these days, it's sometimes a dangerous way to look at the world, but I think it's the best way to look at the world to get the highest results, to get the best results and have the most success. Like you said, in dealing with interpersonal people and even just how people look at me and approach me because they know that just having experiences with me, they know I'm at least going to give them a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like I give everyone a chance until you show me that you're not worthy of that chance, and then I don't keep that, that hand out there that long once you show me that you're not worthy of that hand being out there. So yeah, it's helped a lot.
I gotta ask, actually, where do you think that comes from for you? Like, how did you learn that? Because especially when you told us earlier about the experiences of kind of feeling a little bit different and experiencing isolation at a young age, right? That to me, that sounds like something you would have to make a conscious effort to revert that because those kinds of experiences don't necessarily inspire like trust and acceptance from strangers and people you don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's why I was so quiet young. Even though as a young person, I didn't look at life that way. I was a lot more standoffish. I think honestly, probably the last maybe 10, 12 years of my life, I've kind of developed that thing. Because earlier in my life, I did kind of look at everyone with skepticism and, you know, what are you going to do to hurt me? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I let you into my life, what are you going to do to disappoint and hurt me? Was kind of how I, looked at things a lot, younger because, I didn't grow up with my biological father, girlfriends being young, cheating on you and doing all these things and developing how you look at the world through the lens of relationship. I didn't have a lot of good experience young. But I think just growing up and meeting the people that I've met along my journey, especially in music, in the music world, I think that's helped kind of me put my guard down because 90% of the people that I've encountered on this journey of music have enriched my life in some way, even if we don't talk every day. So I've thought like, okay, I guess everybody isn't out to get me. Most people, just want to either be cool or want to help me in some way. So I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt until they show me that they don't deserve it. And it's something that I had to develop over time, but now it's kind of innate.
Yeah, man, it's not lost on me, and I don't think it's lost on anybody listening. Something you wish more people understood about music and or production.
That is not easy, that everybody can't do it and everybody shouldn't do it. There's, because there's so much access, because really these days all you need is a laptop, then everybody's a fucking producer, everybody's a rapper, like everybody thinks that what we do is easy. And everybody's not born to be an artist. Like some people can have it as a hobby and get good at it over time, but most people in general, a lot of people in general that do this thing, a lot of them probably shouldn't be. And I wish people would understand that just because it's readily available and the way to become a producer or become, a rapper, this and, be involved in the music industry. And it looks like something everybody can do and something, that's always there. It's like low hanging fruit. It's really not. There's a reason that certain people, it takes certain amount of time to get to a certain place. There some people are just savants, of course, but for the most part, if you really ain't cut out for it, it'll show. It'll show because it takes work to get good at doing any type of art. And if you're just doing it for the fuck of it, you know what I'm saying? If you just think we just up here pushing buttons and you know what I'm saying, and just saying just anything on the fucking microphone, then you are not gonna last. You are not gonna last in this thing.
Damn, dude. I mean, it's just such, I mean, I just appreciate the honesty, the candor, and the hot take all at the same time. I mean, you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. What do you want from me? Um, Someone else you'd like to hear from on Producer Head.
Probably Jay Rawls. I think he would give a awesome interview. And you know, just with because as a producer, you ask really good questions, and it's not like the everyday run of the mill. Who's your favorite rapper? Who's your favorite artist growing up? Like kind of questions. I think he would give a very good, poignant interview.
Dude, I would love to talk to that man. Yeah, his beats are crazy.
Yeah, I could hook you up.
And
Blueprint too. I
yeah,
think Blueprint talking about production. He doesn't talk about production as much as he talks about rapping. So I think
yeah,
having him kind of concentrate on the production pieces would be dope too.
that's what's up. And yeah, I mean, obviously would love to. I mean, yeah, we'll talk about all that. But yeah, shouts to both of them. I mean, big fan. And yeah, appreciate what they do. Favorite movie?
I have a few, but Memento is probably like what comes to mind. Devil's Advocate, another favorite of mine. Goodfellas, the list goes on. Like I told you, I'm kind of a movie buff, TV buff, so I got a long list of favorite movies. But Memento, just because of how it was shot, it was. I became a fan of Christopher Nolan. Did you ever see the movie The Following that he
No.
did? It was one of his earlier independent films. It was all black and white. It was, from what I remember, I don't even think there was words, but it was just about this guy that followed people around, and it was shot in black and white. And just the way that it was shot, like I became an instant fan because I was into movies, and which makes sense why I got into the videography world and cameras and stuff. But just loved the way it was shot. And once Memento came out, and just the way it was shot, the whole backwards shit, like, yeah, just I think anytime I get a chance to watch that movie, I sit down and watch it.
How do you feel about the Nas track Rewind?
Love it. Yeah, love the concept. I had never heard of a song written like that when he did it. And Nas has come up with some really good, like conceptual songs, and the imagery that he paints with his words is, unmatched.
Storytelling's crazy,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Like Undying Love still is one of those tracks for me
yeah,
from him. For so that story is just crazy.
yeah, yeah. His storytelling is, I think it's one of
Yeah.
those things that's really underrated about Nas is his storytelling,
Mm,
is
yeah.
because he's
Facts.
crazy.
And I want to ask you, like, I feel like there's a lot of people that don't like movies because of the time commitment, like, and that's part of why we're in this series kind of time where
Hmm.
like you still end up watching like something that's are you like multiples longer than a movie,
Yeah.
but because it's broken into these segments, you know what I mean? People like will sit down and watch them. And so, what do you have to say to people that maybe don't give movies more time?
Sitting down and watching a movie is a awesome experience someone's thought from beginning to end in one section, and see how things are developed. Like, I don't think that a movie like Inception, for example, I think if that movie was broken up into sections as a TV series, I don't think I would have liked it as much. I think it just would have been weird and drawn out and for no reason. Sometimes, even though movies are longer these days, 2.5, 3 hours, I think that still is more concise, and it, is able to get a point across. And just, the beauty of language and the beauty of dialogue and all that stuff. Like, I'm really, really into all of that kind of stuff. So, if you just want to see some cool shit, then do what you want. But I think movies are really where it's at, and it's just unfortunate that we've gotten so into this place where our attention spans are so broken to where we can't sit down and watch even an hour and a half movie seems long to some people. And I think they're missing out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, when you listen to like a really good album that you can listen to front to back without skipping
Yeah.
in order,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
The best advice that you've received and used.
Um, that it's okay to be wrong.
Mm,
That it's not the end of the world. to make a mistake because, as you grow up, as people grow up, different environments, of course, foster different things. But being wrong is always so disheartening as you're learning how to live life and how to navigate life. And the more you live, the more you understand that you don't know everything and you're not going to know everything. And sometimes you're going to make a wrong turn. Sometimes you're going to go down a street that you probably should have stayed away from. And it's okay as long as you learn from that mistake, as long as you don't keep repeating the mistake. Because the problem with people that make mistakes is if they continue to keep repeating it, then you haven't learned anything and you're kind of a waste of time, a waste of space. You know what I mean? But, that it's okay to be wrong and it's okay to make mistakes as long as I learn from them. And I really, really live by that.
That's cool, man. I didn't expect that. I really like it. It's okay to be wrong.
Yeah.
What character from a book, movie, or show do you most identify with?
Um, it's kind of difficult. It's kind of hard. Book, movie, or show that I identify with. Have you ever watched Criminal Minds?
The
The
movie?
TV show.
Oh, the TV. I've never seen the TV show.
Well,
No.
it's a TV show about the behavioral analysis unit of the FBI. They go around like hunting serial killers and stuff. And there's a character on here. His name is Rossi, is his last name, and he's like one of the guys that kind of coined the way that serial killers are hunted and how to, you know, analyze their behavior in order to build profiles and stuff. And he's very introverted for the most part, but he is a definite leader and understands, his own self and, has his own demons that he deals with, but he keeps them in check. But, he's always looked to be kind of a guiding force in this unit of the FBI. And, he's not afraid to make a mistake. He hates to make a mistake, but he's not afraid to make a mistake. And most of the time he's not wrong, but when he is, he's okay with it. But he's super analytical, kind of looks, one thing that we do differ in is that, he's a pessimist because he hunts serial killers all the fucking time. So everybody is a potential fucking serial killer. But outside of that, he's definitely a leader, definitely understands his purpose and understands the way that he moves about life and how it affects people. And he really, takes pride in the fact that, he helps and what he does changes people's life. So I would say him.
All right, man. The question that was left for you from the previous guest was, and this is actually really, I love the way that this happened to work out because earlier we talked about advice that you would essentially give a younger self. And this question that was left for you is, if you could go forward in time, what advice would you give to your future self?
You did a good job. I think I would let myself know that it's okay to do something else, to move on. I think one of the things, I think this is just an artist thing. Like, I think I'll probably be writing raps and even making beats and stuff until I can no longer use my fingers and use my voice. But I don't think I'll be doing it at the level, that I'm doing it. And I think I would just let my future self know that that's okay, that, you actually made an impact. What you did was, people are going to revere what you did for, after you're gone. And it's okay to move on and do something else. I mean, I really want to, I was talking to you earlier about me and my wife relocating. Like, I really want to kind of, kind of fade into the sunset, relax with my feet up on a beach somewhere. And I would tell my future self that that's okay, that the musical world is going to go on without you and it'll be just fine. If you just relax. So I think that's what I would tell myself.
Well, man, that was the last question I have for you. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the people?
Nah, man, this was great. This was dope. It was a really good conversation. I will definitely talk to some of my other friends that are producers about, getting with you because, this was very, very dope. But I don't think there's anything like it as far as me being interviewed from anyone. So I really appreciate you doing it.
Man, believe me when I tell you that the compliment is not lost on me and it means a lot. So thank you very much. Yeah. And yeah, man, I mean, I said this offline, but I feel like people need to hear this. I mean, I remember like sitting in dorm rooms in college listening to your music. So it's just fucking crazy, man, to be able to talk to you like this. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So
full circle moment, huh?
yeah, man. So I really appreciate your contribution to music. And it's, like it's just so dope. So thank you for being so genuine, so honest, for sharing your optimism and your experience, and just like how personal and like vulnerable you were in this conversation also. Like there are a lot of layers that were explored today, and I'm sure it connected with some people. So thank you for that. Also, before I forget, man, like Crip chose the same song as you for that Soul Position song, chose the same track,
Oh, he
and that
did?
tripped me out. I was like, yeah, I was like, damn, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's a perfect
So
song, man. There's a lot of
yeah,
people that like that's like one that's at the top of their fucking playlist because it's just beautiful just how it works and
it
how it's
is,
made.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's epic, man. But yeah, I mean, all that said, man, thank you again so much for the time. Really do appreciate you. And we'll do it again sometime.
Word. Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
This has been Toru, and in a way, so are you. That concludes another episode of Producer Head. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.
That's it for my conversation with Illogic. What hits me the most about this conversation is how Illogic exemplifies the power of staying true to yourself while building genuine community. From his approach to balancing family and artistry to creating Vibe Society as a hub for Columbus producers, he shows us that success isn't just about individual achievement, it's about lifting the others around us as we climb. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave a rating and review wherever you're listening. This helps Producer Head find its place and its people. Without you, there is no Producer Head. Thanks again for tuning into Producer Head. Subscribe and join our community over at producerhead.substack.com so you never miss an episode. Substack subscribers receive exclusive access to the biweekly podium, curation of my favorite discoveries on and offline over the past week. You'll also get access to Producer Head Bars, where I share the best of what's been shared with me to help you and other producers in our community grow. The podium and Producer Head bars are designed to provide immediate inspiration and direct application in your creative process. So, subscribe at producerhead.substack.com to receive real inspiration and ideas you can use to elevate your own process today. If you care for the craft, get your exclusive access at producerhead.substack.com. This episode was co-produced, engineered, and edited by Matthew Diaz. Big thank you to him. From Producer Head, this is Toru, and in a way, so were you. Peace.